Hello, everyone. This is the Hit Me With Your Best Pint podcast. This is our very first episode of the podcast. My name is Jake Turner. I'm the host here. A little bit of background. I'm the brewer at Mays Valley Brewing Company in Hartville, Ohio, and I've been a professional brewer for about 10 years. Premise of this podcast is we're going to visit some other breweries around the area, talk about our favorite styles of beer, and the beers that we kind of feel are a little underrepresented in the industry right now, and get in a little technical detail about them. Today I'm at Lockport Brewery in Bolivar, Ohio. I'm joined by Andrew Marburger, the brewer owner here, and we're going to talk about one of his favorite beers.
What's up, Jake?
Oh, not much, Andrew. Good to see you.
You too.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
All right. So we're here in Bolivar. You guys are just like a stone throw away from I-77.
Yep.
It's super easy to get to if you're in the 77 corridor.
For sure.
You're about, 15 minutes from Canton?
Yeah. We're kind of in geographically, we're in an interesting area because we're on the very northern edge of Tuscarawas County. So, and as you said, we're right off of 77. So, super easy to get to from Canton and by extension, Akron and Cleveland. We actually get a lot of visitors here at the brewery from those places. And traffic from the south heading north. So, we get a large cross-section of people from all over the place, along with, just the great support from our community locally, too.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you guys been in business? I know this is second location now. You guys were kind of across the street originally in the other building.
Yep.
But total years, what year did you guys start?
We opened at the end of 2016, so we just hit 7 years in business. We moved over to our present location summer of 2019. So just about, 6 short months before, COVID came to visit everybody.
Yeah.
So we worked through that, figured that out, best we could, of course, stayed alive.
Yeah.
And
I remember coming down and getting to-go beers from the window and stuff during that time.
Yeah, appreciate that. Those to-go beers paid the electric bills. And,
Well, we had to figure out something to do during the
You
day.
got it. Yep, 100%.
So what kind of got you into the brewing industry? What got you brewing beer?
So I like to joke with customers, and it's probably true for a lot of professional brewers, that it was a hobby that kind of grew wildly out of control.
Yeah.
So I was home brewing pretty aggressively. Was feeling good about that. Really wanted to be kind of in the brewing world. Was willing to do about anything to get my foot in the door. Luckily, Marty Linden out at Magnifico Brewing Company at the time.
Shout out Marty.
Yep. Took a chance on me. And got in there and just loved it right off the rip.
Yeah.
I'd come from a desk job, and nothing against desk jobs, of course, but it was the end of the road for me doing those. And got in, started working for Marty, started making beer on a much bigger scale, obviously, and really enjoyed doing that. So actually coming up here in just another week, first week of March, will be 10 years that I've been in the industry as well. So. Nice. Similar timeline there. And a couple years after that, of course, we got the brewery started, and here we are.
Yeah, excellent. That's, same kind of timeline, different situation. I wasn't at a desk job. I was at the fire department, home brewing in my off time there, and just got to a point, I got involved with Mays Valley and jumped ship over there and started making beer full time.
Yeah, it's a pretty good time.
Yeah. What kind of brewery you guys kind of see yourself as? Like, what are your bread and butter beer styles that you hang your hat on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, right from the very beginning, one thing we recognize is that if we want to be making beer for, any substantial period of time, we got to be good at business too, right? So, we wanted to make sure that we brew on kind of a cross section of beers that are going to appeal to our audience and our setting here in Bolivar. But kind of
smaller rural communities.
Yep, you got it.
Same kind of simpatico.
Same dynamic. Yeah, for sure. So we wanted to, but we also want to cast a wide net. You know what I mean? So we want to make beers that are really kind of unique and exciting and different, or maybe kind of pushing the envelope on certain flavor or style characteristics. Sure. But also make beers that are tried and true, old standbys of beers that. Either American or German or English brewers have been making for hundreds of years. Yeah. Those obviously have stuck around and stood the test of time, and we thought they could here too, and so far they have.
Yeah, that's kind of I feel like we have similar philosophies where it's like we're both in similar kind of settings, But I like to think of it as I try my best to make like a world-class beer for a local palate.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Where you got to kind of know your audience where you're at and kind of meet them where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And try to do the best you can in that parameter. I
guess.
Of
course. And Gateway, kind of our flagship beer. That was the first beer we ever brewed.
Delicious ale, yeah.
Thank you. So we it's the name isn't an accident. We want to make sure our consumers are coming in if they've never had a craft beer, and we still get those folks frequently, that we're introducing them to something that is won't just completely throw them out of the arena at the first taste, so that they can start with and kind of branch off from there. And what we've seen is over time, I've got customers of all ages that will come in, have never had craft beer, have a Gateway. Within a year to 18 months, we got them onto IPAs.
Yeah, that's the most appropriately named beer.
You got it. Yeah.
Where it's like, come on,
right. Just get your foot in the
macro
door.
lager drinker. Let me get your foot in the door here.
That's right.
So I guess today we're here. You want to talk about the beer that we're drinking currently?
Yes.
And we'll talk about the name, what the style is, and we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty on why we're here today.
Yes. So we are drinking Magnifico Czech Pils. So this is a Czech lager that was actually, the recipe was put together by my head brewer, Aaron Yoder. Has been with us for a couple years now, a few years. And he's doing a great job. He kind of had this vision for a lighter lager that was crisp, using some European hops and some European Pilsner malts, put it together and create something that's really sessionable. Kind of really scratches that itch that we have for really well-made lighter beers.
Yeah, and I think it hits that mark perfectly. I mean, it's brilliantly clear.
Thank you.
It's light on the palate. You get that just pleasant crackery malt notes.
Yep.
And then that floral sort of earthy hop character that you expect out of Saaz.
For sure.
What's the ABV that we were coming in at?
We're at right around 4.5%.
Yeah. And what's your IBU count?
18 IBUs.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of balancing that noticeable malt backbone. So it's not completely not present. You notice it there, but it's also immediately balanced by the Saaz hops, which we're adding just a couple additions late in the boil, a little bit in the whirlpool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, fermenting, on the colder side. We want to see typically about 12 hours between knockout, which we're going to be about in the mid-60s, get into the tank, see some kind of activity that we're through the leg phase.
Get a little head start.
Yep. Drop it down to about 52 degrees and kind of get into primary fermentation.
Sure, yeah. So what do you think is, we all love Czech Pilsners. I think brewers in general love a good lager, and German and Czech Pilsners are like some of the favorites.
Right.
I have my own ideas of why I love this style, but kind of tell me what you love about Czech Pilsner and why you love the style of beer.
So I think another thing that led me into brewing beer, in addition to obviously I like drinking it, but there's a major intersection between beer and history. There are dozens of historical stories that where beer is a central theme or was an adjacent theme. Beer itself, the names that come from the places where the beers were originally made, and again, like I mentioned, some of these styles have been getting made for hundreds, if not thousands, of years, and they're true to time, right?
Yeah.
So for us, I really like the idea of Czech Pils, Pilsen, the historic component of beer, and trying to glean, in lieu of an actual like hard copy recipe, trying to glean what these guys would have been drinking based on what they were growing, or the techniques available to them at the time, and trying to interpret that in a modern through a modern lens is just a really fascinating part of the industry and of beer making in general.
Yeah, this style is kind of born out of their ability to kiln the malt.
Yep.
In a lighter fashion, and where you might have seen more ales and lagers at that time that were kind of more on the alt beer category, where it was a little bit darker.
That's right.
Or very dark, because they, when they were kilning the malt, it was over kilned.
Right. It became a byproduct, right?
Yeah, and developing those techniques to do a lighter kilned malt, which gave them the ability to make a light, easier drinking beer.
Yep. And of course, the naturally very soft water, present, was a huge factor that, before the advent of modern chemistry, maybe they didn't fully understand, but they did understand it made really good beer.
Yeah.
And they kept doing that. So.
Yeah. And I'm tremendously jealous of any place that has a nice soft water profile, because that is not what I'm dealing with.
Here in Northeast Ohio, we're all in that boat, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have a malt brand, or, a place that you like to think of? I mean, I have a couple off the top of my head that I like to use for this style of beer.
Yeah.
But if you have any specific brands that you like for these styles.
Yeah. We've been a big fan of Weyermann malts, of course, over the years. Just a tried and true, really, really solid, German maltster.
Absolutely.
Been around for a long time. We have recently started to experiment a little bit with avant-garde malts again.
Yeah.
So just like, all other business owners and brewers, we're all kind of in the same boat when it comes to pressures on, freight costs and raw material costs. So, certainly not ever with the intention of sacrificing quality, first and foremost, but we do want to experiment with a couple other competing malts. So right now, Weyermann, avant-garde are sort of our go-tos for base malts. We have used Briess in the past with good results. But we tend to prefer Weyermann and the German malts especially.
Yeah, and that's during deep in the pandemic times, where overseas shipping was problematic for getting the supplies you needed. That was something I had to look at, because primarily our Pilsner was also made with a Best Malls out of Germany, and so not being able to get that a lot of the time, then it was like, well, I had to look at domestic supplies and find other suppliers making closer in character as much as you could.
Yep.
And that's still where prices have come down slightly over the past 4 or 5 months, but I think we're all still feeling the effects of inflation on a lot of stuff. And that's kind of why, people complain about beer prices going up, but it's like, guys,
it's kind of a direct translation, right?
The costs on just raw material have been astronomically gone up over this past few years.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we'll see a little bit of easement on that. But again, we're dealing with agricultural product where. Yeah.
Those are all real factors. All things to consider, if you're brewing beer professionally, there's a balance of the business of beer and of making the beer. And, there are things I would like to, throw to the wind and, brew with, only kind of the most premium ingredients that we could possibly, find. But in reality, I was saying, as brewers, kind of have to balance, our wish list of everything that we want to do, that's from, an equipment, ingredient standpoint, you name it, to the business of beer and making sure that we're staying in the black, so on and so forth. One thing that we've looked at that has helped us on that front is utilizing LD Carlson as a supplier for as many things as we can.
Sure.
They're local, they employ a lot of local folks. And we could go pick it up.
Yeah, it's real close. Even for it's like a 20-minute drive. I can go there and pick something up on a whim if I need to. Yeah.
And Mike up there has been great. Just kind of keeping us abreast of new products as they come online. There's a lot of new interesting things out there in terms of dry yeast and co-pitch yeast and things like that. So we're starting to kind of vet those products and see how they look and bring them in house.
Speaking of yeast, so I don't think we've hit on yet yeast selection for this beer. If you want to talk about what you're using, and we can get into some details about that.
Sure.
I think we're using the same strain.
We're fans of 3470.
Yeah.
We've been using that in most of our lagers. It's predictable. It's a strong fermenter. It's pretty neutral when it comes to throwing the ester profile.
Yes.
And so it really lets the other ingredients in the beer shine. When we want people to kind of get the crackery notes and the Saaz backbone in a Pilsner like this, we want to make sure that we're not getting too much from the yeast. And the yeast do a great job of getting the beer fermented out clean. We do the full primary fermentation at about 52 degrees. Then we'll let it free rise towards the end. It'll come up maybe about 10 degrees ish. From there, we're just kind of making sure that we're not getting no movement on the gravity scale. It's passing the warm maturation checks. And from there, we drop it down about 10 degrees a day till we're down to about a 33-degree level. Yeah. And let it sit for a good 6 weeks. We are spunning it towards the end of fermentation. So we're...
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah. So we're putting that under about a bar of pressure and kind of letting it hang out there. From there, we're just kind of seeing that trickle out, obviously, of pressure. Crash it, maintain most of that pressure, bring it into a bright tank. We're usually pretty close to about 1 3/4 to 2 volumes by the time we get it into the bright tank, get it up to about a good effervescent 2.7 or so, and then package it. So that profile turns into exactly what we're looking for in the finished product, and we're proud of it.
That's I guess we could talk about sort of the advantages of spunning outside of just saving on CO2. There's also that advantage of like really developing that fine carbonation.
Exactly.
And you get that nice, kind of pillowy, fine, persistent head.
Right.
When you're using, that spunning valve, and I wish I would have started doing that sooner with that beer, because like the results are so much better, I think.
I agree.
And that's, these are the things that I feel like, a lot of people don't think about when they're having a pint of beer, but that's like what we obsess over.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our job, to obsess over that detail. So, even, maybe it's a good thing that the consumer doesn't even notice, right? Because if there wasn't anything, if they just taste a really good beer that, feels right, tastes right, they go about their day and they have a good time. And so, we've accomplished our goal. But, to your point, it's those intricate details and kind of even small changes in the brewing process that can make, big outcomes in your finished beer.
Well, and I guess that's kind of my, purpose here is that, I'm so, invested in those little things that we do.
Right.
I want people to start to think about that when they go to a brewery and order a beer like this.
Yep.
Is, really, thinking about even on a beer like this that's supposed to be simple and very enjoyable.
Right.
It totally is.
Yep.
The thing I love about these styles of beer are that, they can be very technical and very like fawned over if you're the brewer of those beers. And I want people, the next time they go to a pub or a brewery and they're ordering that Czech lager or that German Pilsner, to really take a look at it and pay attention to the details that went into that beer.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think kind of extrapolating that idea, and not to knock any other style of beer. IPAs, I love IPAs too, but to me, the complexity of an IPA is immediately obvious to me as it is to consumers, because there's a lot going on.
Right.
There's, you may use, 1 to 5 kinds of hops in the same beer. You can use different malt selections, of course, in IPAs, depending on what you're going for. And so, again, that's all its own sort of beautiful dance in the beer world. But there is just as much complexity in something that might not be as obvious, like a Czech lager.
Yes.
That to your point, would be really cool if people thought about that part of it too.
Right. Well, you think about these styles that have been around for hundreds, if not 1,000 years.
Yep.
You think about the refinement of that process and the refinement of the details of those styles. And
Absolutely.
That in itself is the complexity that makes those beers beautiful.
Exactly. Standing on the shoulders of giants too. I mean, that's our responsibility as brewers, is to kind of honor that time-honored tradition. Yeah. And make those beers, the best way we know how.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that for sure. So my next question, this is not related to beer. It's kind of one of these getting to the ends of the interview ideas.
Yeah.
I think everybody when they, or a lot of people when they got in this industry, like kind of got into it because they had a passion for it. It was a hobby of theirs prior to coming out. I think you started homebrewing, I started homebrewing.
For sure.
A lot of the people we know started as homebrewers before they made their way in here.
Yep.
And, it was a hobby we were passionate about. I kind of feel like, going pro at it ruins that hobby a little bit. Like I haven't homebrewed since I went pro.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of wanted to ask you, do you have any hobbies outside of the brewery now that you're passionate about, that you're really like into,
That's a great question. And to just to hark back on your point real quick, before I got into the industry, I was talking to Andy up at Market Garden Brewery.
Yeah.
And he basically cautioned me about getting into the industry.
Sure, yeah. I think we've all been a little bit warned.
Yeah. He said, just make sure you really love this, because if it's work every day, it may not be fun anymore.
Right.
So, I'm pleased to say that it is still fun for me.
Yeah.
I do enjoy making beer. I don't do it as often as I used to, and maybe that's part of it. Aaron does a great job kind of holding down the fort around here. So that's probably part of it. It's probably not surprising that, my hobbies are kind of fermentation adjacent, if you will. So lately I've been into making bread and fermenting pizza doughs.
Yes, same boat.
So kind of just it's really fascinating. Taking dough and water, mixing it together.
Yeah, like you can't stay away from fermentation.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Is like, I don't make beer at home anymore,
Yeah.
but I'm really into like pizza making.
Oh, yeah.
Recently getting a little better at bread making.
Yeah, it's a challenge, right?
It really is.
It's hard, and that's part of the fun of it. And so as a brewer, I think it's an extension of that controlling fermentation thing. Cheese is on the horizon, want to mess around with that a little bit.
Nice.
So I just like making things.
Yeah, same way. Like especially, I think there's a lot of overlap between like brewers and like, I guess you would call them foodies or culinarians.
Yeah, chefs and
where we have a lot of chef friends.
Right.
We all kind of associate in those.
We kind of see the world in the same prism.
And so we're both military veterans,
right.
And I always say, like, people are like, how did you get into like cooking things? And I always say I always ate so many dog shit meals when I was in the military that when I left, I never wanted to eat a bad meal again.
That's right.
And so like I taught myself how to cook.
That's right.
And like just went for it.
Yep.
And so that was the whole thing there. I was like, I'm never going to eat a bad meal if I can help it.
I love it. I love it. So true.
Last thing here, did you have any other careers in mind prior to kind of coming to this conclusion? Like, what was another dream career you might have had?
That's funny. I still like to joke that I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah. So, I don't know. I've been on a weird.
Figure it out soon, man.
Yeah, no kidding. I've been on a weird career path, and I didn't have perfectly clear vision of exactly what I wanted to do, and it's part of why I ended up in the desk job that I've been doing for so long. And it wasn't that it was a bad job, and it wasn't that I enjoyed doing it. It just wasn't what I wanted to be doing for the rest of my career. So with that said, I've learned a few things. I'm really happy in this career, and now this business has grown into more than me being a brewer. We've got about 30 employees, and so between Lauren and I, we work really hard to make sure that ship is pointing in the right direction, and as entrepreneurs, we're doing things right. And I really enjoy that challenge and that big puzzle. So.
Yeah, it's like you get a lot of satisfaction out of making something and seeing people be happy with what you made.
Yep.
And that's like, I think I kind of lost a step of that during the pandemic when I wasn't in the tap room really anymore.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, you don't get to see, like, it always, sometimes I think brewers like get in our heads about what we're doing and is it really good or anything else. And then like,
absolutely.
If you get a chance to like go hang out with your customers, and they're just like,
it makes it all
see them
worthwhile.
Enjoy everything, and then you're like, oh man, I guess we're doing all right.
Yep. It makes it all worthwhile. That is so key. You got to take this step back. You got to share a beer with the people you're making it for, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you're enjoying it, they're enjoying it, everybody's having a good time, and that's the key to the whole program.
Yeah, and you're building community, as you guys clearly are doing here. So it's been super fun, like getting to know you, watching this place grow up, and like seeing everything come in. And that's we're kind of like along parallel lines.
Yeah, and we've done a couple collaborations over the years.
I mean, how we won GABF medals at the same year.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I mean, it's like kind of a whole parallel thing, and like being buds. Like it's
good
been
stuff,
a good time. So
for sure,
I appreciate you doing this with me. First episode.
Yeah.
Sorry for the low production value, everyone. But we'll try to do what we can in the future. But cheers, man. I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cheers. Good to see you.
Cheers, buddy. Good to see you.